You're going to hear up your flavor game a lot here. What we're going to need here is some unsalted butter, okay? We use basically unsalted butter in every type of cooking because I like to be in control of how much salt is going into any dish, okay? You can always add salt into something. You definitely can't take it out. So we always start with some beautiful unsalted butter here. And you can see I've got 2 sticks of butter. Now these we got out about 2 hours ago. In order to do compound butter, you need your butter to be soft, okay? You don't want it runny, you don't want it melty, but we definitely want it soft. Now we're going to show you 2 different ways here. Right there as my bunny ears come hopping through the bottom of the screen. 2 different ways to elevate your flavor game, right? We're going to do a savory and we're going to do a sweet one, okay? Both angles, both designed to add a lot of flavor without a lot of work, okay? Besides that, you're going to need a little bit of saran wrap, clear plastic wrap, a bowl, spoons, and then whatever ingredients. This is also so much fun to play with because you can customize these to whatever your flavor profile or palate would enjoy, okay? Which one do you want to start with, hun?
Let's do the savory one.
You want to start with savory?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So we're going to go ahead, put that stick of butter off to the side there, and let's grab, I'm going to go with the smaller one for this. Any size bowl will do. It just needs to contain our butter. And what we're going to use here, and I'll hold these up. We'll pull them on the cutting board here. We've got dill, and we're using dried herbs for this, okay? It makes it a little bit easier. You can use fresh herbs, but you want them to sit out for a little bit after prepping them. So they do dry out a little bit as they'll have a lot of inherent moisture. Right there, we've got some celery leaves.
And these are from our hydroponic garden.
That's right. Chamomile, which chamomile, the whole flower is edible. So this has the petals in the interior of the flower dried. And this is sage, okay? The other thing, the fresh ingredient that we're going to add to it, just to give it a little extra pop, is a lemon, okay? And we'll get to that in just a moment here. Now, as Jen said, all these herbs here in these fun bottles, right, provided by Amazon, are all herbs that we have harvested from our hydroponic garden. Now, when our hydroponic garden, which we did a stream on that yesterday, has 30 different plants going, sometimes you can feel overwhelmed and be like, how am I going to use all this fresh produce? Mm-hmm. Well, a great way to do that, especially with your herbs and edible flowers, is to simply dry them. They will keep almost indefinitely as long as you keep them in a cool, dry, out of the sunlight place. If you don't, they can grow mold. So you want to be very careful and mindful of that. But once they dry completely, they'll last almost indefinitely. So great way to get all that produce. Make sure you use it. It doesn't go to waste. And we'll show you how they all look here as we get it ready to go. So first things first, we want a nice high quality butter. Okay. So we're using, I believe, Challenge butter. Oh yeah. And that is plenty soft. I'm going to rinse my hands here real quick so I don't get herbs stuck all over me. There we go. Now we're doing better. And I do have some gloves that I'm going to use as well when we get into forming it, okay? Just because it can be a little bit messy, but this is also a fun thing that you can do if you've got kids and want to get your kids involved. It's very easy to get them involved in this as well. Okay, so dried herbs are way more potent than fresh herbs. That moisture's been going, so you want to be very careful. You can add them in. Once we add them in, you're going to have a really difficult time removing them, okay? So we're going to go ahead and start with basically a half teaspoon of each of our herbs for our savory components here, okay? And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and use the back of a spoon here and just start smashing this butter out a little bit and breaking it down and creating a little bit of a trough, if you will. And just use the edge of the bowl there. There we go. So it's a little easier when we start mixing all these wonderful fresh ingredients in. And by fresh, I mean we made these, you know, they're fresh. They're not sitting on a store shelf. All right, so freshly dried.
Which it's easy to dry the herbs too. You can hang them to dry. We actually like to do them in our oven at a really low temperature, and then they just get crumbly, and it's easy to do on a sheet pan that way too.
Yep. So here's our sage. See if that'll focus or not. It might. It,
Oh,
it wants to.
oh, you
It's
kind of
jumpy.
at a distance you can see.
Yeah. So our fresh sage going in. Now we're going to go ahead and get our dill. Oh, I love dill
Me
so
too.
very
One
much.
of my favorites.
Now, what can you do with compound butter? Basically anything you want. We use it as a finish on steaks all the time, but any type of cooking that you want to, you can add it into a sauce,
Put it on, just put it on bread.
put it on bread for a
Adds
savory
extra flavor.
savory toast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so our dill, we did our sage, we got our dill in there. Now we're going to come across here in celery leaves, okay? Now, celery leaves are an amazing garnish. If you don't have parsley, a lot of people just end up composting or tossing celery leaves. They have flavors, and we grow our own little mini celery stalks. And the first time we did it, I was absolutely floored. I was like, oh my gosh, the flavor in this, when you buy celery from the grocery store, it's kind of bland. There's not much flavor to it at all. So we take and we dry the leaves and use those as a garnish or a component, okay? So celery leaf going in. And then here, the cru de resistance, chamomile. Now, drying your chamomile, you can also put it in a tea bag and steep it, and you have your own chamomile tea, which I'm telling you, and just even having it right here, about a foot away from my face, just taking that cork out, just I'm already getting that lovely aromatics here. The one thing you want to be careful is with chamomile, we're going to take a little bit of a look here. We want to make sure that we don't have any of the stem in there. There we go. That's pretty good. Nothing hard. And that can happen when you're drying flowers. So we just want to just make sure and take a look, and we're looking pretty darn good there. So I'll go ahead, add a little color. Now for the last ingredient, this is our fresh ingredient. And we're going to take our lemon and just zest the very edge of the outside, okay? Making sure not to get into the rind, okay? We want just the very edge. And the same measurement, we're going to be doing about a half a teaspoon of lemon as well. Oh, and once again, the aromatics here are absolutely fantastic. One thing, if Kitch could add this, Kitch, if you're watching the stream right now, if we could get smell-o-vision installed in a feature update, I mean, that would be absolutely phenomenal. Maybe asking a little bit, but you know, a guy can dream. So there we go. We've got our fresh zest there. We're going to get all of that in there. There we go. Okay. So all of our ingredients are in the bowl. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead. You can use a fork if you like. I might transition over to a fork. Use those tines. We'll see how our mixing goes here. And we're just going to smash that together using the side of the bowl. Okay. Now, once again, you've heard it once, you've heard it again. Consistency is the big thing. We want to make sure that we get all these herbs and ingredients all the way through. Now, you can do an Italian type butter with basil and Italian parsley, oregano. You could do an Italian style butter. Now, tell me, if you're having a spaghetti dinner and you want to do your own kind of, you can put garlic in there, do your own Italian garlic bread with compound butter. It's how easy is this? I mean, it's so simple. I've always said this, and I've said it before on stream too. It's like when you go to a restaurant and they have waffle fries on the menu, okay? And they ask you, would you like seasoned sour cream with that? It's the biggest scam in the food industry. Big seasoned sour cream. And you say, of course I do. And you pay that extra $1.25 or $1.50 where they just drop in a little bit of seasoning with it. And we're just pressing that around to get this all the way through. Look at that. Look at that. All right, let's see if I can hold that up there. Kind of hard to see there.
Yeah, I can see it.
The lighting's not the best. I apologize.
You might be able to do it on the side angle too.
Oh, good idea.
And get a close up that way. I think we have maybe it's Irish King joining us
the
on
king
the
back in the house.
Table. Hello. We are making some compound butter.
Hello. I'm just looking at you there, Noel.
There he is, the one, the only. All right.
I'm going to stay on mute here and just watch.
Yeah, kick your feet up, relax. Yeah. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right. So the beautiful thing about this is you can taste this as you go. Now, don't eat a whole stick of butter tasting it, but you want to make sure we got that nice even distribution. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab out a little fork here. Just need a little bit. And that's fabulous.
It doesn't even need any salt at
a
all.
little bit. We're going to give it a little bit of salt here. And that's to make those flavors pop. This is to be a component of a dish. This isn't the main feature. It's not like, hey, you guys want to come over to my place for dinner and eat compound butter?
Right.
You know, so you want... So we're going to go ahead. I've got some beautiful Himalayan sea salt here. And once again, we're going to use about that same measurement all the way across the board on this one, okay? So half teaspoon of everything. Now, you can tailor this to whatever measurement that you would like, okay? You want a little bit more pow in it, up those to a 3/4, or and I said tablespoon, I meant teaspoon, my apologies. Go ahead and up it to, 3/4 of a teaspoon, or even a full teaspoon if you really want to drive that flavor. Just remember that when you go to cook and activate that flavor or use it, that flavor is going to be exactly what you're tasting there. Okay. So we got that all mixed up, all mixed around. Let's go ahead now. I'm going to actually glove up here just to keep my hands, because we're going to be dealing with this butter here. We'll do this again for the sweet one in just a moment. Okay. And this is where we are going to get out a little bit of plastic wrap, okay? And we want to keep it nice here. So I'm trying to be as gentle as a Montana Max can be. There we go. Easy cut. And we'll lay this down. And see, I'm already pulling a Montana Max there. And there we go. We're going to spread that out on the board. And now we're going to go ahead and get all this butter, okay? And we're going to put it directly in the center, okay? Every ounce of flavor that we can get out of there, we're going to use. Now, this is where it gets cool. And I mean that quite literally, okay? That's about probably as good as I'm going to get, okay? Hence why I'm using gloves, right? We're going to go ahead and do that. Now I can take these off. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over once, fold it over on the other side, okay? Then we're just going to keep the ends down like that. And now we're going to form it into kind of like a football shape or a log, whatever, just a nice shape there. And we want to make sure it's smooth all the way. And the reason we're doing this is after we wrap this up, and I'm going to show you the real fun part to really condense that butter down, okay, in just a moment. But this is actually going to go in the fridge or the freezer. If you want to use it same day, throw it in the freezer, okay? If you're using it the next day, fridge is absolutely fine for that. But what happens then is it's going to reconstitute in its hard form, and you can actually slice it. Now, if we make it nice and round, okay, which you're going to see here in a moment, let's go ahead and take it back to the main screen. Now, be careful. It's very easy to get excited here and whip your butter across the room, but we're going to grab both ends.
Don't do that.
And we're going to wrap it up just like that.
Look at that.
How cool. Okay. Now we can take our final.
Just show that up close.
I will. Absolutely.
You made a butter baby.
I made a butter baby, but that's it. Now this can be sliced and you can present that on top of a steak, or you can even present it on a nice piece of warm toast and let people spread it. And you can see there, hopefully. Thank you very much. I know it's a little dark when we get up there out of the light, but you can see we have a nice even distribution of all of our ingredients there. And we're just going to go ahead and take.
That'll be really good.
Yeah. So that's our savory one. How easy is that, right? Number one, very easy. So now.
Simple ingredients too.
Simple ingredients. But you've just up your flavor game. Now it's not toast and butter. Now you have compound butter, right? And just saying words like that. You want to be more chefy at home? You ready? I made a reduction. right? I've made compound butter, right? It's so simple and so easy, right? And like we made a reduction earlier, right? And all you're doing is evaporating liquid, so it forms up, and it's so easy. It's so easy, and you can do that right at home. All right, let's move over now. Grab a fresh bowl here. Let's do one more. We're doing it, right? This is a good time to do things in batches.
I was going to say, if you want to remind everybody what went into that savory one real
Yes,
quick.
Savory. So let's review what in there. We use fresh lemon zest, celery leaves, sage, dill, and chamomile. All herbs dried. If you don't have a hydroponic garden, dry your own herbs, you can still do store-bought ones, or you can do fresh ones, okay? You just want to make sure you chop them very, very finely, set them out on a paper towel for about an hour before you do it, so some of that excess moisture gets out of there, and you can do the exact same thing with fresh herbs. It's not a problem. Either way. Okay, so that's our savory. Let's go ahead and jump in. Now. Sometimes my brain sticks. You know that. You've lived with me long enough. Now we're going to do our sweet one. You want to talk about upping your breakfast game? Here we go. Okay. Cinnamon Toast Crunch has got nothing on us. Okay. So get ready. We're going to jump in. Let's talk about what you're going to need here, and we'll get everything ready. So we're going to use ground allspice, ground cloves, a cinnamon, and check this out. This beautiful hibiscus flower honey, that nice dark honey. Ooh, any sort of your favorite honey will work. Infused honeys are very popular right now. So if you have, some sort of infused honey that you'd like to try, by all means, play with your food, right? Okay, so once again, stick of unsalted butter. We add our own salt, and we'll add a dash of salt to this as well, okay? We'll add a dash of salt to this as well. Same process. We're going to go ahead and flatten this out. I've got a fresh spoon here, mind you. We don't want those savory ingredients sneaking our way into our sweet butter, okay? This is absolutely fabulous to add to pancakes, French toast. I mean, anything that you want to sweeten up. Think of it as a dessert butter or a breakfast butter. Okay. Doesn't have to look pretty. We just want more surface area, so when we start mixing, it's easier for us. That's what we're doing here, is we're creating more surface area for our seasonings to lie in, so when we start the mixing process, okay? So let's go ahead, and these are a little bit different ratios here. So we're going to build up, okay? We're going to build up with these. So we're going to go ahead and do a 1/4 teaspoon, not a half. The first two ingredients here are 1/4 teaspoons, okay? 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, because these are much more potent spices especially in their dry form here, okay? So we're going to go ahead. It's about a 1/4 teaspoon. Allspice already smelling good. Remember, not Old Spice, the deodorant your dad wears. Allspice, okay? Ground cloves, also very potent. So a 1/4 teaspoon of this will be more than ample, okay? There we go. Got that in there. Now we're going to up it a little bit with our cinnamon, okay? So we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Just be careful when you're pouring your cinnamon. It's very powdery. It can come out on you quick. So we're just going to give it that little tappa. Happy Gilmore, tappa. There we go. That's looking lovely. Okay. Now it's time for the honey. And we're going to do a full teaspoon of the honey.
Sounds good to me.
And this has some residual spice in it. So I'm going to grab out a different spoon. We don't want all those spices to go in our honey here. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. That's looking a little extra honey, maybe. Extra sweet for Jen today is what I'm going to do.
Sounds good.
All right. So we've got that in there. And now we want to make sure that we get this spread evenly, okay? The honey, a little bit different than a dried herb, so it's going to be a little stickier, right? So we've got to really make sure that we work this all the way through and get that. There we go. Using the side of the bowl, put a little English on there. Look at that beautiful color already. I mean,
that looks awesome.
Butter's already amazing, right? But who thought,
This would be good on sweet potatoes.
Oh, good idea, sweetheart. Sweet potato with our sweet butter. I just ate, and now I'm getting hungry again thanks to you. Grab out one more spoon here, just so I can. There we go. This is smelling amazing. This is looking amazing. And just spread with the back of your spoon. That's the easiest way to get even distribution. Using the edge of the bowl there. Then I've got my other spoon. Just go ahead and take that off and continue to do that until you visually can see everything work through. And see, we've got seasoning on the bottom there. We want to make sure we get all that. If there's any clumps, that's the other reason we do it like that, is it breaks up any clumps, okay? We want a beautiful eating experience, start to finish, right? Every bite should be consistent, okay? That's looking pretty darn good. I'm going to do one more pass at it here.
You said you were going to add a dash of salt?
Yes, I am. Just a dash. That'll help those flavors pop, okay? So not a lot. We don't want salty to be a forefront on here. We just want it. It helps liven things up a little bit. So once again, just a couple passes there, lightly with your salt grinder, okay? So that would be less an eighth of a teaspoon of salt.
Mm-hmm. Tiny.
People can always add salt, right? Salt is one of those amazing molecular structures that doesn't behave by the same rules that everything else does in the scientific world. And that's why table salt is table salt. That's why they don't put all the spices out on the table, because salt can be added at any point, basically from start to finish, even when it's plated to your meal. So if somebody wants it more salty, that's all fine, but they can add that themselves, okay? I just want to liven up that flavor profile. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead, glove up one more time, just for ease of use here. I mean, if we weren't doing this on a live show, I could just pop over to the sink and rinse my hands and all that. But, you know, we're trying to keep a flow here, right? And once again, we're going to do the same process here. Oh, come on now.
Oh, don't get angry with it.
I'm not. Saran wrap is a very meditative Zen thing. You must work with it, not against it.
That's very true.
There we go. And that worked pretty well. All right, let's go ahead now and get our butter. Just as we did before, we want to center this, okay? Speaking of Zen, we need to center our butter. We're going to go ahead. You use a spatula, right? Use a spatula if you want to get every last bit out of there. We want to get all that butter, okay?
The color is going to be nice on this one.
Mm-hmm. Excuse the scraping sound there as I get that beautiful butter off the bottom, but just coming around here, we'll show you. Yes.
Question.
What happens if you don't have any spices or you don't like spices? Can you put anything else into it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beautiful thing about compound butter. There's no rules to it, right? I would not put meat
No.
in a compound butter.
No, I wouldn't put meat down. No.
You could put cocoa if you like chocolate. You could make a chocolate compound butter.
You like chocolate, Irish King?
Well, kind of, yeah.
Well,
of?
then
You could try
mix
that.
it with butter. Bam.
Yeah.
Now,
Totally do that.
I suppose if you make a cake, there's always butter in cakes, and so
Yeah,
chocolate. So
there is definitely chocolate and butter in a lot of cakes. Yes.
You could also add for the sweet one. You could also add instead of honey, and the spices. You could do maple syrup. I think would be good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Fresh maple syrup and mix that in with your butter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're only limited in compound butter by your imagination. So yeah, if you're not big into spices, you know, anything that's a shelf stable liquid or dry ingredient.
I have another idea.
Lay it on me.
You could do chopped pecans in there.
Chopped pecans? You like pecans, Irish King?
well, yeah.
Well, there you go. Put it in some butter. All right.
It's just a new way of doing things. I've never seen butter being done like this, so it's new to me.
Oh.
Well,
you've
welcome.
never
Yeah.
seen it. Oh, yeah.
Check it out. You got to try it. Just anything that, like I said, that's shelf stable. Okay.
Just like a fancy way to present your butter, and people like it. At least here in the States.
Oh yeah.
Especially when they serve your rolls at dinner, you know.
Oh yeah. And you take this out
of-
and do a slice of it and have a beautiful circle of seasoned butter. I mean, I don't know why, but there's just something inside of us that we're like, that is amazing. Like it just
Extra
triggers like
delicious.
the response. You're just like, I feel so fancy. And all we're doing is just upping our flavor game. All right, gloves are done. Let's rock and roll here. Bring it back to the main camera.
Suppose it'd be a good thing for Christmas, like, you know what I mean? To impress your family and
As
all.
a gift, absolutely.
Yes, good
Well,
idea.
you got me an idea for next Christmas.
And then we just do the little spinny thing. Don't pull, okay?
No, don't.
Otherwise, your
pull.
butter's going to go across the room.
You can even roll it on the counter like you would, you know, like a rolling pin. You roll it, and it'll turn into that log shape.
Yeah, just in like parchment paper. You can use parchment paper if you don't have
or
saran
wax
wrap.
paper.
This kind of looks like a mouse. I feel like it just needs a little line there, and I can be like, doo, doo, click, click, kitsch.com, here to up your flavor game. Compound butter mouse.
No.
Instead of a keyboard, it's my flavor pad. Click, click. All right.
Oh my goodness.
Enough playing with my food. Now, like I said, the key is to put it in the fridge or the freezer if you're using it same day. But let's hold that up.
Oh, Montana has a good comment here. Sometimes they put it in little molds to make it fancy.
Oh yeah, if you have
Like those
silicone ice cube tray, you can make little stars or little leaves or whatever.
We have so many of those.
Montana.
Why didn't you say this earlier? We could have done that too.
We had a creative department call last night that you were on.
Uh-oh.
But there we go. There is our beautiful sweet version. And speaking of sweet, Miss Kansas City Jen, we got a little bit, just a touch in the bowl there. You want to come up and take a little sample before we sign off here in just a moment? But there we go. Into the fridge it goes. Easily in a day, that'll firm up, and then it'll become sliceable for presentation. Come on now. It's like making a cake with who wants to lick the butter spoon?
The butter spoon. Now, normally I wouldn't just eat plain butter.
Well, you don't have to eat a spoonful of it. It's just a taste.
That is very, very good.
Now, see, yeah, just bring smiles.
You almost could just eat it, but you shouldn't.
Bring smiles.
You should not.
Bring smiles every time. So there we go.
That is
just
delicious.
to review. Inside there, we've got ground cloves.
Just one more little taste.
I normally wouldn't. We've got ground cloves. We've got allspice. We've got cinnamon and beautiful honey.
Did you taste this one?
I did. Oh, look. Normally,
I might as well taste it.
You've come this far. Why stop there?
I want to taste this one. Totally different.
Well, yeah.
So good. I taste the lemon and the chamomile together really well, and that sage is really coming through, and the dill.
Yeah. So notice nothing is. It's all about balance.
It's
creamy.
All
yeah. So fine, it's creamy double. Max Lott's in trouble. So there we go.
It'd be good on potatoes too.
It'd be good on almost anything. So there we go. How easy is that? Up your flavor game with compound butter. We've got our savory, we've got our sweet, and we've got it available for you here on kitsch.com to make at home. And feel free to mix it up for whatever kind of flavor profile. Just remember, balance and consistency are the two key things for a successful compound butter. Thank you, Irish King, joining us all the way from Ireland, Montana, all the way from Montana. Thank you for joining us here today on kitsch.com, the food network for a new generation. We appreciate you guys more than we could ever express.
Yes, we do.
And as always, for those about to butter,
we salute you.
We sure do. Have a good day.